daily time frame, I have this trend line below. If you're wondering where the trend line is coming from, we can spot a touch here, some couple of touches here, and I think price may most likely come back into that trend line. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price continued lower until it came into the trend line below. So our prediction was perfect. So what do we expect going into next week? As usual, I like to see the weekly time frame. Price looks like it's still pointing downward, and even on that daily time frame, price has broken below a major daily trend line. So are we going to continue lower, or at some point we are going to twist and turn to the upside? Well, if I look at a possible area, since price has broken below that daily trend line, a possible area I would most likely expect gold to come into before we rally back up to the upside will be between these two areas here, between 2446.461 and 2418.488. So if that is the case, let me make sure this is visible on the lower time frames. Yes, it is. Double click on this, is also visible. So I'll go back to the daily time frame. So you can see that, hey, price has broken below that trend line and looks like it has enough room to the downside to break. However, let's go to the 4-hour time frame and time our entry. All right, now remember, gold is too bullish to be swinging a sell now. Well, I don't know what your strategy looks like. Maybe depending on your strategy, you could do that. I'm not ruling that out. All right, I'm not saying you have to do things exactly the way I do, but if you are not already in a sell, at least the most possible area to look for sells from is between these areas. Let me even box it in to make it make sense. So I'm looking at these areas here. All right, let me put this here and even move this line above here. Let me borrow this one from above here and put it here. So I'd like to see price come back in between 2613.737 and 2594.259 before we sell off again. Now, when we sell off, I'm not saying you have to hold to the target I highlighted from the weekly time frame. Just go for a decent 2 to 1, 3 to 1, or depending on your R and R. All right. So basically what I'm trying to say is currently price is creating a nice wave of lower lows and lower highs. If you look from here, lower low, lower high, lower low. I'd like to see a lower high here for price to continue downward. All right, so to rejoin this sell, if you're not in this sell, then it's advisable to wait for price to pull back into these areas as mentioned earlier before you sell off, either to the targets below or anywhere you feel comfortable taking your profit, right? But for bullish scenario, just in case the bearish scenario fails, you already know how I do it. Wait for price to break above 2613.737. Wait for a retest on the lower time frame. Then you can trade to this area here. You can trade to this area here, which is 2664.979. But I'm skeptical about that bullish move. I think price will still be more bearish next week. So let's just see how price play out. But I've obviously shown you the bullish and bearish scenario. So the next on my list is USDJPY. We may be coming back to tap into this zone again before we take off again with 154.745 as our target. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price made its way to our target 154.745, but price didn't come into our entry zone below. Actually, last week I mentioned this in the midweek analysis. Last week what happened was I knew that price may possibly just continue higher from that zone, but you know, time will not permit me to dive deep into all the nitty-gritties of how I look at the market in just a 10 minutes video or 15 minutes video, you know. So that is why, like I always say, it is important that you enroll in any of our mentorship programs to be able to understand how to look for all of these possibilities yourself. All right, I got so many screenshots from some of my students that actually took the trade from this level to our target. All right, they were already aware of the fact that price may lose, but they will rejoin at a lower price, while some just use the wider stop loss. So they just put their stop loss below 151.394 and jumped in from here and they took profit. It's not up to a 2 to 1, but at least money was made. So going into next week, what do we expect? Meanwhile, I would like to delete this line because that line is now invalid. Remember, in the long term, I'm expecting USDJPY to come to 160.000. If you're wondering why, if we go to the monthly time frame, you can see that, or even on a wider note, for those that have been following me for years, you remember when I called all this USDJPY bullish move, go back to 2 years ago, you'll see these videos. So there was a inverse head and shoulders pattern that was taken out, price broke above, came back, retested that zone, rally all the way to 160.000. Now it has come for a higher low again. Last month we closed with a bullish engulfing candle. So I expect this month to be bullish until we come into 160.000. So anything I'm talking about on the lower time frame may just be a mere pullback before we continue that bullish move. Just know that long term USDJPY is bullish and it is safer to buy than to sell. All right, so what do we expect going into next week? I'm going to put a zone around here. I'm going to make this area a zone because I can see that price is currently sitting on this level now, which is between here and here, being 154.794 and 153.806. So there's a possibility that price may just take off from here. That's if DXY is still super bullish next week. I've not analyzed DXY. I'm going to do that next. But for whatever reason, if DXY is going to go for a major pullback, then USDJPY may also go for a pullback, right? So I'll put a line here, which means I'll give a bearish and bullish scenario. So I'll put this lower trend line here, which price has tested once, twice, and the third time, which makes it a possibility that price may jump higher. But if price continues lower and breaks below 153.806 like this, come back for a pullback on a much lower time frame, you can sell into 151.394. So these are my bullish and bearish scenario. Actually, it's more safer to buy now, right? But it may fail because if I go to DXY, you see the reason price is trading at a weekly resistance. It may want to go for a pullback before it continues the bullish move. But that doesn't mean we should ignore what is right. Buying right now is the right decision to make. But if that fails, then you can recoup your loss by selling after price must have done what it's about to do below. All you just need to do is to maintain proper risk management. The next on my list will be DXY. So our target is this trend line, and if I go back to the 4-hour time frame, I'm actually expecting price to continue into that trend line up above within next week. Welcome back, guys. So on DXY, you can see that price made its way to my target being the upper trend line, and for whatever reason, even blasted above it, right? And price is trading at a weekly resistance. Let me go to the weekly time frame and show you what I'm talking about. The last time price traded around this area was 1 year ago, around October last year. If I put my mouse here, you're going to look down and see Monday, the 30th of October, 2023. That was the last time price traded around this region, and that area is responsible for all this bearish move to the downside. So now, initially last week I was thinking price may bounce off this trend line, but price broke above it, and now it is trading at that resistance. Now remember that DXY is super strong, dollar is super strong. It's just like there's nothing that can stop it at the moment. So don't be surprised that next week price blast above the zone, which I would even love to see, because if that happens, should price break above 107.109, man, we are coming to 113.332 on DXY. Simple and straightforward. That's where we'll be coming to, because looking left, there will be any obstacle to stop DXY from rallying all the way to the upside. So which means you can swing EURUSD bearish, GBPUSD bearish, USDJPY bullish, and all of those pairs that has the US dollar in them. All right, but still, this is a weekly analysis. I know that this may most likely happen long term. I mean, that's what I would like to see happen. But since this is a weekly analysis, I need to also call your attention to the fact that price has been super bullish from the bottom here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks straight up bullish price action on DXY. Super bullish, right? So at some point it's going to stall. Maybe this is where it's going to stall. Why? Not because we are just guessing, because we just want to see the market go down. The market is not even going to go down. But because at some point price must catch its breath, and we are looking for areas that will most likely aid that to happen, which happens to be this area that we can see. This area has been tested multiple times, not on a lower time frame but on a higher time frame, so we should be wary of that. So price may come retest this trend line before we take off again, because we are definitely going to take off. Don't get it twisted, right? So if we go for that initial pullback on DXY, maybe I would like to see it retest this trend line, the outer part of this trend line. So if we see that mini pullback, then it's going to affect prices on the USD pairs, which I'm going to show you real soon. But going into next week, if price breaks above 107.109, then I expect price to continue jumping to the upside. You understand? But if we are going to come for a pullback, the outer part of this trend line, the upper part of this trend line, or this area will be where I'll be looking for that pullback to come into before we continue bullish. Fingers crossed, we'll keep an eye on that to see how everything play out. But let's go to EURUSD to look for trading opportunities. But before we do that, let's do a quick recap from last week. And I'll be expecting EURUSD to come into 1.06523 area, which is this green line right here. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price made its way to the target here, being 1.06523, which is around here, right? So as a matter of fact, price even continued way lower. Meanwhile, I'll delay this line. Now, what do we expect going into next week? So going into next week, two things may happen. If DXY is going to go for a deeper pullback, price may break above this line here. All right, what's the value of that line? Let me even check. What's the value of the line? I think the value of that line is 1.06022. So if we're going to go for that deeper pullback, then price may most likely break above that area, come back for a retest before we take off into here just for a mini pullback. All right, this is actually plan B, because plan A will still be to just go with the trend. Make the trend your friend. Don't overcomplicate things for yourself. Don't just anticipate the pullback until you start seeing it happen. All right, so plan A will be the bearish move. So I'd like to see price pull back into that same line, that same region, then switch over to a much lower time frame. If you get your confirmation, that's why you should always wait for confirmation, because confirmation will prevent you from impulsive entry. So let's say you have a specific pattern that you use to for your confirmation. If you don't get it here, at least you know you are safe. Then you can buy when price breaks above retest and you take your trade to the upside, right? But going with the trend, I think I'd like to see price retest this line here. Once again, what is the value? The value is 1.06022. All right, look for your confirmation and sell to this lower point here. At least that's what I'll be looking for. All right, target being 1.04674. All right, so these are my bullish and bearish scenario. Price may open next week and maybe just continue lower until we come into this zone. Why am I even talking about this zone below? If I go to a much higher time frame, like the daily time frame, that is the most recent swing point. That point is responsible for all of this bullish move historically on EURUSD. And now that we are falling back down, that is the area I'm expecting to catch the falling rocket. Feel like Elon Musk right now. Right, so yeah, that would be that. If I go back to the 4-hour time frame so that I quickly look at my bullish and bearish scenario, this is it. So that would be that on EURUSD. So the next on my list is GBPUSD. And then if the bearish pressure is too much and price breaks below 1.28520 area, then you also want to catch it on the pullback, stop loss above. That's if you are not holding the sell from the upside. Then our next target, we just need to look left for the major swing points we can see, which is around here. So our next target will now be here, which is 1.26780. Welcome back, guys. So you can see how price eventually broke below 1.28520 and made its way to our target down below and even broke below it. Now, going into next week, what should we be expecting? I'll go to a higher time frame. Remember I said DXY is trading at a weekly resistance level. If I put a line here also, you will notice that this is also trading at GBPUSD is also trading at a weekly support level. Meanwhile, let me delete this upper trend line. Right, if you can spot the support level, I can circle it out for you. Look at here, responsible for pushing price lower. There was a reaction here also. Historically around here, there was a reaction. There was a massive reaction around here, and now price is back there. So we have to keep our eyes open. Price may bounce up from where it is currently. Let me make sure this is visible on the lower time frame. Yes, it is. All right. But if price continues lower, which means if DXY continues higher, our GBP next target will be this trend line below. Where is that trend line coming from? Let me squeeze out my chart so that you see properly. Look at it. Historically, we've touched it once, twice, 3 times. And if price continues lower, that will be the next target. All right. We can call it either the third or fourth touch to the trend line. That is if DXY continues higher. But if DXY goes for a pullback, I'll go to a much lower time frame. So if DXY decides to buy, right? So which means I would like to see price buy from here. If DXY decides to sell rather, which means I would like to see price buy from here to this target above here, which is 1.26780. There will be a midweek analysis. Then I'm going to give more updates on this after price must have moved a little bit for the early part of the week. All right, so that will be on Wednesday. If you are not on the Telegram channel, please, the link is in the description below. Make sure to join. All right, so that is what I'll be looking at on GBPUSD for now. I really don't have much to say. If price continues lower, the trend line below is the target. If price continues higher, then 1.26780 will be my next target. So the last on my list for this week will be GBPJPY. It's been long since I analyzed GBPJPY, but GBPJPY is kind of going for a pullback. So I think, let me go back to the weekly time frame. I think if price continues lower, it's going to come to this weekly swing point here that is responsible for pushing price lower, which is 193.426 before we either take off or probably continue below. But I'm on the side of it taking off from there. But let's go to the daily time frame. Anything interesting? Friday was super bearish, and okay, we look like we are still on points on our targets. Major swing points, perfect, that works. So but if you want to take advantage of this, then you have to pray and hope that will go for a pullback. But if you're already holding, then 193.426 would be a good area to take profit. But if you are not, then guys, you just need to hope and pray that we'll go for an initial pullback, which may not happen because it is too high up above. All right, so but if to join, the best thing is to wait for price to pull back into these levels here of 197.509 and 196.571. So the best bet is for price to pull back into that region. Then this is where you want to sell. Stop loss above, take profit back down below. You understand? Before we either continue our bullish move from last month. All right, so that will be that for this week's analysis. Once again, our registration is still open for our mentorship program. That's the live session. You can also opt to go for the course, which is a pre-recorded version of our methods of trading at letstrade10x.com. So we are coming to the end of the year. Don't you want to elevate your trading game? If you want to, then make sure that you click on the link below or go to letstrade10x.com and enroll in any of the mentorships of your choice. And if you're not interested, that's completely fine. So just keep watching our videos, keep leaving those beautiful comments, keep liking, keep dropping those fire emojis, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.